Okay, radio production then. What did you enjoy and what didn't you enjoy?
I think it was really like different.
Yeah.
That's why I really liked it, and like I really liked the research. That was my favourite bit.
The research, okay, how
Yeah.
comes?
Just because I found out loads of stuff that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Like when I listened to the radio, like I never even noticed the idents. So like it was really interesting to learn about them and the fact that you have to play it like after every song. Like when they were saying you play it after every song, I was thinking no you don't. And then I started listening to the radio, I was like, oh they actually do.
It's the same as like when I said once you start thinking about rule of thirds and visual storytelling and like prop design and stuff, you can't watch a film in the same way. So you're constantly thinking, oh, I wonder why that's on the fridge or whatever it might be. But it's the same with radio. I think it's because you just naturally accept that's the way it's always been.
Yeah.
Until someone dissects it, you haven't really thought about it before.
Yeah, I literally just didn't even notice.
Especially signposting and particularly idents. You don't, naturally you just accept that they come on and you don't even register or think about them when you're actually having to make one, or in post-production when you think song ident, speech ident, song ident.
Yeah.
Like it's quite full on.
And so then I just kind of thought maybe that's actually too much. But then I thought, well, if a proper radio station says that's what you're meant to do, then just do it.
Yeah, and also it's just about making the audience feel like reinforcement of the brand, but also if they tune in at any time, they know exactly what they're listening to.
Yeah.
So that's important. Right, we're going to start with the product first. Okay, so yourself, Chris, and Chloe obviously work together. So your feedback in terms of scripting, all that is very similar to perhaps what Chloe and Chris have already told you. But the difference obviously is in the way in which you've edited the show.
Yeah.
Okay. So after our names links well to the theme. The show ident has been well prepared and it links also to the theme and the target audience of the show. So well done. There was a good transition between the show ident and the introduction, so it seemed seamless.
Yeah.
It wasn't noticeable that you'd gone, let's introduce, here's the ident. It was seamless, which is good. The presenters have a clear tone and pace. The open dialogue includes what is coming up on the show and a reinforcement of the theme. However, the opening conversation doesn't really shout, let's get ready to party. Yeah. What you two have been up to at the weekend isn't really relevant. This said, I like the link between the opening conversation and the first song when you say, shall we get on with the show, Chris? That's shouts radio convention.
Yeah.
It almost shouts cheese, but that's exactly what it is. So that's really, really good. The music is well selected and meets the demands of the target audience, but it is quite, I put quite dated question mark, and I did mean that as a negative. It was just me, because I've got a bee in my bonnet about the theme, and I felt that the theme wasn't reinforced. When it was like what I knew was club classics, I think had you said up with the first club classic or whatever.
Yeah.
So for some people, they might have thought it was an outdated show, but it wasn't, because it was supposed to be about classics.
Yeah.
But I just don't think that was reinforced enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that comes down to remembering you all know your idea inside out, but
everyone does. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I grade them, I have to try and put my head on of, I haven't seen the pitch, I haven't read the planning.
Yeah.
And if I was listening to this in isolation, if someone listened to it now, would they know it's a club classic show?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
The After Hours ident has been well produced and features consistently throughout the show to link the music. This ensures those that are tuning in at any time will know what they're listening to. So well done. How does it work with the idents? Who's responsible for?
So we all like made, I don't know, like 3 each, and then we started using our own, and then after a while I was like, I'm so bored of hearing these idents, so me and Chloe like swapped, and we started using each other's,
which is fun.
I just kept on looking at it as like, if this was hard and you kept on hearing the same 3 over and over again, I would tune out
completely.
So I just got some of Chloe, and then I think I got a couple of Chris, and just started using them.
Which is great, because the whole idea is obviously to have a bank or a suite of idents, but in the time that you was given, there's no way that individually you'd be able to do that. Like, somebody that worked on their own managed to achieve a good suite of idents because they work on their own. But all I would say is that there wasn't many noticeable difference between the idents.
Yeah.
So the reason I've had to ask that question is because I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that if you had more time, you would individually think, right, let's make one which is upbeat, let's make one which looks, which is for a slower song or whatever.
Yeah.
So that would be important. Crossfades have been applied well in parts, but the transitions between music, ident and dialogues needs to be seamless in other places. So on occasions, there is obvious links between content volume levels, speech, music, and idents. So in some areas you balance those or controlled those crossfades really, really well. Then other places I felt I knew that you would put that in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That comes with you with confidence and using the programme more. But I felt you was a lot more confident here than you have been in previous projects.
Yeah.
Which is good.
I think it's because like I enjoyed doing it, because as I was doing it I was like listening to it, and I don't know, it just felt like it was more like real than just like making a film and editing it.
Yeah. And maybe also, I don't know, maybe with radio, because maybe you felt like you had lots of involvement and input in every stage, or maybe of in film, because you're not as confident in the filming bit. If you've acted it, you've acted. So when it comes to obviously editing the shots, you can't really do much about the footage you've got, because it's what you've got.
Yeah.
Whereas with here, you were in control and you had more ownership of it. Maybe that was something to do with it. I've put that the presenters have a good rapport, you're laughing and joking, like you take the mick out of Chris, and it works really well. You ensure artist names are detailed, which is really important, because I know your target audience want to know who they're listening to and what the name of the song is. 8 minutes in, you say coming up on the show. This entices the audience to keep listening, but again, I think there should have been greater emphasis of what is going on in the theme. So in terms of whether you're staying in or going out, we've got music to get you through the night, or whatever it might have been. You've ensured the script has been used as a skeleton, and I've put here, whether you read from it or not, it's really hard to tell, which is exceptionally hard to achieve at this level. The conversation sounds natural and fluid, so really, really well done. It didn't sound like you was going, your turn, Chris, my turn, Chris. So really, really good. Adverts have been well selected to reflect the target audience. Sound beds have also been used well. And they sound quite clubby, which links to the theme. So you thought about those sound beds, and then haven't just used like a thing on a loop, which gets a bit boring. You have considered intro times for each song as well. So I know in pre-production you spent a great deal of time looking at how long it took for a song to actually begin rapping or begin singing, and you applied your crossfades really, really well there, so well done.
That was like the most stressful thing, trying to do that. I was like sitting there going, oh my god, Chloe was like, you just have to edit the song. I was like, I don't want to.
Yeah, it's difficult. I said the barn for radio ident has been used frequently throughout to reinforce the brand, so really well done. Adverts appear frequently, which also reflect the needs of the target. You didn't have random adverts for Dreams Beds. They were adverts that linked to the target audience. News, music and news have been well researched and prepared. It's read clearly, and although it was the producer, because it was someone different, that's exactly what news would do. It wouldn't be the radio presenter reading the news, so really, really good. And your news ordering and structure was really on point. I just think if you had more time, sound bites or interviews would have made it more authentic. But conventions have been adhered to, so you say things such as, that's all now, you're up to date, which is fantastic. I think the balance between music to speech is a bit too heavy in the direction of music, only because the theme wasn't reinforced. If it was, I wouldn't be saying that, because it would make sense. It's a Club Classic show. The quiz comes at about 35-ish minutes. And I think you should have signposted more to encourage the listeners and to remind them to keep listening for the quiz. And I think, although I like the fact that you had like the naturally occurring moments where you pick the buzzers and stuff, because that's very radio, and you wouldn't have the ability just to say, here's the buzzers, which they do on the radio. I like the fact that Chloe's brought in as well, but the volume levels here are a bit of an issue because Chloe sounds so far away from the mic, whereas you sound really close. So that's just a bit of an issue of maybe positioning the mic, so getting used to where people should stand, and or to think about just recording it in isolation. So you do your bit, let her do a bit, and then put it in post-production. I found the riddles bit a little bit odd. I don't know if you was just trying to fill the gaps.
I think we were. I think Chloe just started with riddles, and I was thinking, what are you doing? But you've just kind of got to go along with it. That's what I did.
Netflix picks is a good idea, but I think, and I said this to the other two, I think this is the area which you could have really enhanced your production values. So what I mean by that is, hello.
I just need to speak to you. Well, it's okay, you carry on, finish your feedback.
Okay. I just think that was the area that you probably could have enhanced your production values. So I would have liked to maybe have seen some like countdowns, like some SFX for like in at number 10. And Chris reads so quickly, I couldn't even tell that he missed number 9 out until he told me. It was just read really, really quickly. So I think I like the idea of doing it, but I think production-wise, you could have enhanced those production values a bit more. It just appeared a little bit rushed. Okay, what else? You follow the cycle, so in terms of segmentation, you know how I asked for me to be able to cut your radio show into a pie, and I could do that. I could see there was dialogue, content, adverts, and then it was all really seamless. So all 3/3 followed the same structure, which is really, really good. There is a pause in dialogue at the end of the show. Just one more listen through, I think, would have just resolved some of those. It's tiny pauses more towards the end. I don't know if that's maybe he's getting rushed for time.
I think maybe,
But they're just like seconds. Obviously on radio, a second sounds quite long.
Yeah.
So just think about the tighter use of space towards the end. So overall, all I'd say is there needed to be greater attention of theme, because your idea was really cool, and I think in parts it was working, but I just think you needed to shout more.
Yeah.
This is if you're staying in or if you're going out. I like the fact that you shared across idents in terms of, so you've got this bank of idents, but it is important if you had more time to make sure they sound really different, which is important. And other than that, just greater attention to signposting, so I know what's coming up on the show, and I know if I listen at any point, not only just what I'm listening to, because you did have lots of use of ident, but what's coming up, that's really important. And continuous use of signposting, okay? We will talk about research and evaluation.